Oh, welcome back to This Morning. Now, in just a few minutes, we're going to be joining fundraiser Mick Cullen, who's on an epic 1,000-mile trek. Oh, there he is. He's completing it in a pair of tight blue Speedos. Bless him.
You know, Mick, looking good. Now discussing more of today's headlines with Giles and Carol.
I think that was a member of the government trying to leave the country before Carol turns on them.
Swim in the channel.
She will hunt you down.
There
she will hunt you down. DIVORCE, people. Tesco, Asda, NatWest, the country's most senior family judge, are supporting a scheme that gives time off to parents who will go through a divorce. Under the Positive Parenting Alliance scheme, employers will amend HR policies to state that separation is similar to a family death or serious illness. Divorced? You've been divorced?
Broken.
Yes.
You've been divorced. I haven't been divorced so far. 50 years in, who knows what will happen?
Never.
Carol, when you were divorced, would this have helped?
Well, because I'm freelance and obviously I was in Countdown and all sorts of different things, so I got divorced in the year 2000. I think my situation was different to somebody. You know, divorces generally are messy affairs and people get divorced generally, the vast majority, because they've had lots of arguments and that's why they've decided to get divorced. And in the vast majority of cases, the children are left with the wife. And so if she is working and she has to take the kids to school and then, you know, and going through this, probably the most emotional turmoil that you will go through in your life. I think it's a wonderful idea. I think it's really
It's a lovely idea. It's an important idea.
Yeah.
42% of marriages are now set to, well, to end. I was going to say to fail, and maybe that's the wrong thing to say, but to end. But it is undoubtedly a tragedy. Family breakup is a tragedy.
Why do you think it's so high?
I don't know. Why do you think it's so high?
I think the situation has changed for women so much in the last 50 years, really. So I spoke about it on Monday. You know, when I was growing up, we were expected as a girl not to go to university. Only 4% went to university, and expected to marry well. It was a term, wasn't it, Giles? You know, you get, oh, they need to marry well. Whereas women now are far more independent. They can often earn their own money. The sisters, you know, they have their girly gangs and so on. So there's kind of social lives. And I think that
the balance is not
we're going
the same.
through this transition.
Same argument, well, not
society.
argument, the same kind of point could be raised about the birth rates lowering, isn't it, for the same reasons?
There's an expectation now that everything should be marvellous and perfect all the time. And somebody who has been married for 50 years, there are ups and downs.
Yeah.
Marriage is challenging. But I would say if you can make it work, the rewards are so great that it is worth it. Everybody goes through a rough patch because men are men. That's the way it goes. But if you do go through the rough patch, you then have the reward of children and grandchildren and being together as a family. So, but I think when people have decided, actually, we can't cope anymore, then to have their employees being thoughtful, because there isn't anything more traumatic for fathers as well as mothers than thinking, actually, this thing that we built together, that we cared about, that we remember the day we got married, how much we loved one another. Remember the moment when the baby was born, how the dad held it for the first time. All of that. To cast that asunder is such a big thing to do that it is very good that these employees are saying, actually, employers
You would
saying,
hope,
let's give us some
though,
time.
actually, if people are waiting to get married a little bit older, that hopefully eventually will bring that divorce rate down, because people will be more considered when they do get, when they do get married, and they've lived a bit of a life before they get married.
There was a distinguished judge who specialised in divorce who gave up being a judge to form a group about trying to actually get families to reconcile, knowing that family life is so important. Almost all the people in prison in this country come from broken homes.
I think sometimes it's just about being heard, isn't it? When people decide to break up, it's just because they're not listening. And that's all it is. If somebody hears what you're saying, then that's all you needed.
Maybe Tesco, Asda and NatWest should be looking at this earlier and saying, we actually can also pay for and offer counselling if you're going through a rough patch in your marriage.
Before the divorce.
What about if you're not married as well and you've been in a relationship for like 20 years and you're not married, would you still get this divorce leave? That's what I wonder. If you split up from someone but you're not married, would you get the time off?
Probably not.
That's interesting.
Because this is involving court. This is giving them time to go and see their solicitors, to go to court for the hearing. It is really traumatic.
Well, if you are going to court and you fancied something a little bit of sparkle while you were there, the next story is interesting. A top London law firm wants employers to dress fabulous in inverted commas.
I like
London law firm Vardags has advised staff to be wildly fabulous to express themselves to the full with their office attire. The divorce and family law firm suggests to its staff they should shun the cufflinks of business suits associated with bankers and estate agents and wear such things as electric blue sequin jackets and gold leather trousers topped with a funky pink hairdo. The only caveat is suits probably needed in court more or less, it says.
I mean, it's an amusing idea. I have come dressed, as you can see.
Dressed with our family lawyer.
We already have this memo here at this morning.
Exactly. I'm ready to be your solicitor. But would it inspire confidence if, when you're coming to discuss, let's hope not, but your divorce, or indeed suing the entire British government, that you go in and the lawyer is sitting there with golden shoes on, dressed like this, saying, hello, darling, I'm wearing my gold lame jacket, which I borrowed from Rod Stewart, because he's on your side, one of your key witnesses. So I'm not sure that it will give quite the right impression. And I think in court they are still expected to wear wigs.
Yes, they are.
So they'd look fantastic, wouldn't they?
I'd like to see that, actually.
Marvellous.
Somebody, like, doing the RuPaul catwalk.
That's what we want.
With a wig on.
RuPaul's Drag Race in the High Court. Absolutely. You come in and there we are.
We've got some great news.
Never mind the drag race. It's all about the Huns, isn't it?
This is all about the Huns. Carol Vorderman is officially a high-end Hun. She's, according to the Daily Telegraph, Carol is officially the highest end of the Huns. Like, she's
of all
the
time.
top, she's the queen
She is
of the
number
Huns.
one Hun. She
Yes.
was on the cover of the Daily Telegraph. The most glamorous woman. There was a whole range of the
course.
world's most beautiful women.
But I
aged
can't
between
imagine
40
anybody else to be the highest of the Huns rather than Carol Vorderman.
What we want to know, the characteristics of a
yes,
high-end
go on.
Hun
Yes,
include knowing your wine, your music, your interiors and your labels. Do you?
I'm not very good on labels, because I tend to buy cheap.
Would never do dry January. Have you ever done dry January?
Not that I can remember, no.
I will explain to viewers, she's pixelated now. You may have been wondering. The ITV lawyers have been wondering.
I do
That'll
like
be
a
her
party.
excuse.
I
You do like
a
a party.
Giles being very opinionated.
Being
That's not
glamorous
ringing
and
any bells.
being glamorous and ageless. You are
I
that.
don't know about that.
Being very opinionated.
Never.
Loves leopard print.
I do
Yeah.
like a bit of leopard print.
See, you are the highest end Hun.
Yeah.
You only use organic scented candles, is that right?
No, that's not right.
I don't wanna
get
say
mine
this
from
one, but-
Aldi.
Maintains a great sex life, is that true?
I can't possibly comment.
I've got half a dozen people to vouch for that one. On we go.
Calls everyone her girlies, regardless of their gender.
That is true. She's saying to me, you are such a girly all the time. Anyway, it's uniquely British.
So, Carol, how do you feel to
being
be
a high-end?
honoured
Well,
in
I
this
saw
manner?
this yesterday. Somebody sent it to me, and then I was filming yesterday. So someone went out to get the newspaper. I was crying laughing. Do you know the bit that I particularly cried laughing about was when it said, "Oh, Carol Vorderman, all those Carol Vorderman, blah blah blah," and then it said, Carol Vorderman, who recently said she has 5 lovers, said, "Well, it's a little bit of icing on the cake." I spoke to my friend, she said, "You did say that." I went, "Oh, good grief."
I want you to know, when we do Gogglebox together in
yeah.
the sitting room,
Yeah.
my wife is at the keyhole, keeping a close eye on what is going on.
Long-suffering.
Yeah, getting a few more pills out for the morning.
Who else is a high-end Hun? Apparently Kate Moss is one.
Yes.
Charlotte Tilbury
yeah.
is
Yes,
a high-end.
I
Why am I
know.
not involved
You're
in this
100% a
situation?
high-end.
You
I must
are
be the
so
lower class
high.
one.
You're a high street Hun.
I'm just a Hun.
You are too young.
Oh, am
This
I?
is for the more mature, yes, indeed. Also, you ought to come from Cheshire, Liverpool, Newcastle and
Yeah.
Essex.
Oh,
And you are
right,
a
okay,
Midland
that's
girl.
okay, that's fine, that's fine. As long as I'm a Hun, I'm fine with that.
Thank you, Carol.
It's been a pleasure, both of you
always.
joining us, as always. Thank you, Charles. Thank you,
We're
Carol.
going off to
weekend.
mud wrestle now.
With Carol's lawyers.